China has the highest trust amongst the general population. That's according to an annual report published by an influential US-based communications group, the Edelman Trust Barometer. China scored an index of 82 compared to 47 in the US. At the very bottom of trust was Russia with 30. Countries like the United Kingdom, France and Japan were also listed among the least trusted countries. The country with the biggest loss of trust was Saudi Arabia, down from 70 points to 61. This is the third year running that China has scored the highest points with regard to people's trust in their government. In the wake of the COVID-19 outbreak, the Chinese government has introduced a number of measures, including quarantine. This has happened without provoking social protests or panic. The absence of protests suggests Chinese faith in their country's socio-political order. The report surveyed 34,000 people online in 28 countries, examining public trust in 4 sections: government, business, media, and non-governmental organizations. These institutions come under public scrutiny in their handling of social issues and rising economic inequalities. Well, for more on this now, I'm joined in studio by Matthias Mwindi. He's an independent political risk analyst. Matthias, thank you for joining us on Africa Live. How relevant is that report to China, though, in the current context of the fight against COVID-19?
It is very relevant, considering that it's a situation where it's being published at a time of a serious outbreak of an infectious virus. While the survey was conducted before the outbreak of COVID-19, it came out at the peak of this outbreak, especially in China. And when you look at the way China has handled the outbreak, the speed, the sophistication, and the breadth of the measures it has employed, all of those ones called for competence of government institutions, which is one of the core themes of this report. So you have realized in under less than 2 months, we can say China has managed or been able to put outbreak in what we can see under control. We are seeing now people going back to work. We are seeing hospitals being, the temporary hospitals created at this time being shut down. And yesterday we saw the president visiting the Wuhan region, which was the epicenter of this outbreak.
So what are some of the factors, though, that could explain the persistent trust of the Chinese people on their government?
When you look at China, or maybe people in China, in the country, there are 3 factors which I could attribute to this. One is the Chinese culture. The Chinese culture encourages people to have faith in those who are in authority. But it's not blind trust. You should only have trust in those people who appear to be competent and who are also doing what can be considered to be in public good. The second factor is that there should be what you call working state institutions. You can have government institutions, but they don't work. The ones we have seen so far in China, they appear to be working, and they also appear to be staffed by the right people. The third factor is that you should also try to meet the needs of the people. So especially if you look at a situation of an emergency like right now, the corona outbreak, we have seen government officers going out of their way to try to solve this issue, which is not just facing anybody in the country, but also government officials themselves.
Right. So, in the wake of the outbreak, the world saw that China set the standards in terms of epidemic control and the timely response. But are there some lessons that other countries, particularly African countries, are there some lessons that these countries can learn from the Chinese government and the Chinese people?
Absolutely. There are a number of lessons some of these countries could learn. One of them, you should have state institutions which should work. And these institutions should be staffed by the most competent people. If you don't have those institutions, don't be shy to ask for assistance. China is a superpower in this world, but it was not shy from asking for assistance, even from some of the countries in Africa. The second thing is agility. When you look at the problem you are dealing with, you should adopt as the situation demands, which is why we could see China was able to put up a temporary hospital in less than 10 days. That was something which was unprecedented in this world, and I think it's something some other countries might be looking and adopt in the future.
So what is it that China, though, is doing right compared to other countries?
There are a number of things that China is doing right. One of them is to having a shared vision of what is it that we are dealing with. Whether it's dealing with outbreaks like corona, or whether it's developing the country, you make sure all the people in the country share the same vision, and then that will enable most of the people to support the projects the government is trying to put into place. And it also tries to assure people who might be having concerns, because if you have people who have the same interest, the same vision, they'll be able to also to share their concerns, and you can try to be able in a position to address those.
All right, Matthias Muindi, thank you very much for your insights, joining us here on Africa Live.